Thoroughbred. Bone density tuned to match the test of racing. One way these elite athletes, formed by nature, refined by breeding, and shaped by training, conquer the Derby. The supreme test.
Well, we're here at leafy Lingfield Racecourse, and the reason we've come here is hopefully to find people that we can chat to about the Investec Derby 2018. We've managed to get Rab Havlin, who rides a very interesting horse for John Gosden, and we've also had a chance to speak to Mark Johnston, who's got a horse called Dee Ex Bee, who was second to Young Rascal. In the background, you can hear the commentator's voice, and the horses will be coming down to the finish line for the first time on this marathon circuit here at Lingfield. We'll show you the finish just for fun, and we'll come back with Mark Johnston and Rab Havlin about their chances in the Investec Derby 2018.
Rustang is an easy winner of the last from Zilara, who ran well in second place, and up the third was Mitamprint Q.
Rab Havlin with us now, a face all too familiar to South Africans. Thanks very much for your time. You pick up a very talented young immature horse that's unbeaten in 2 from 2 so far in SEVENNA Star.
Yeah, well, he's unbeaten 2 from 2 this year. He ran twice the back end of last year, but he was a late maturing horse last year, and obviously done some growing, and he strengthened up over the winter.
There was a lot to like about the way he sauntered away from them at Windsor.
He won very easily at Windsor, but it was very soft ground that day, and I think he's a horse that probably needs it to be on the easy side. So, I mean, he'll run, albeit we get the weather that's forecast, which is thunderstorms, but they can be very localised, so they'll hit or they'll miss. But there's a lot of warm weather, forecast in between, so the decision whether to run him will be made. So it'll be a late call.
Right, now the way in which he won his next start after the facile win, he showed a lot of determination.
He showed a lot of guts, yeah. 1.25 miles again up the hill at Sandown. We've always felt that 1.5 miles is going to be his trip. Should he miss Epsom, he'll go for the King Edward at Royal Ascot. So his future lies over 1.5 miles.
Taking a look at the race in the big picture, you're in it to win it. But seriously, and this horse called Saxon Warrior and the winner of the Dante, they look a little bit special, and maybe even Will Buick's horse and maybe even Young Rascal. It looks like quite a high-quality derby.
It's definitely a high-quality field, and obviously you've got Saxon Warrior, who's a Guineas winner and has been proven to be one of the best trials as the Guineas. You have a horse of Roaring Lions, ability, who always showed a lot of ability but some waywardness, but the penny seems to have dropped now, and he done nothing wrong in the Dante and won very well. So he was second favourite for the Guineas at one point, so a little bit he was the forgotten horse, but he's very talented. So yeah, and Young Rascal, it's a high class field.
I think the key maybe with Roaring Lion is that he wasn't in the scrap in the Guineas. He was out on his own, and Donick O'Brien got Saxon Warrior into a position where he was racing with the bunch and he could assert his authority. Maybe Roaring Lion really has stepped up a gear after his win in the Dante.
I think he's actually grown up more than, he's always been pretty talented. Last year in the Royal Lodge, he hung into the middle of the track, lost his race, hung back, quickened up and won his race again. And he done the same in the Racing Post Trophy. Unfortunately, he didn't win that day. But again, in the Guineas, he just tended to hang left. But in the Dante, I was pleased when he got in daylight. He had no other horses round him, and he stretched clear in a straight line, put the race to bed very easily. The thing he's got is a good turn of foot, and if his stamina lasts over 1.5 miles, if he's there, at the 1.5, he's a devastating turn of foot.
We're here to talk about the greatest flat race in the world, the Investec Derby, and Dee Ex Bee was anything but disgraced in his endeavour behind Young Rascal at the Chest of Vase.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that would be a very tight track for him, and if we'd been going another couple of furlongs, I think we could be hopeful of beating Young Rascal. Young Rascal's in there as one of the fancied horses, and Dee Ex Bee's in there as an outsider, and it doesn't really seem logical. I don't think there's that much between them.
I must admit, I thought exactly the same, even though I would have to be biased because Mr. Cantor, of course, owns Young Rascal, and I think he retires at the end of this year. But the bottom line is that Young Rascal's not the benchmark. The benchmark is certainly Saxon Warrior and the Dante winner.
Yeah, absolutely. We've run second in the Dante with Mildenberger, and there was a difficult time for us to decide whether Mildenberger or Dee Ex Bee went to the Derby in the same ownership. Dee Ex Bee was already in the race, and we opted for him. But as I was saying about the Chester course, he's a horse that's been crying out for further all along. He's an Epsom winner. I think after Chester, Franny Norton said that neither Epsom nor Chester are really going to see this horse at his best because he's a huge, big horse. But he has got that experience of Epsom, and over the mile and a half, I think he's a live contender.
At Chester, it's like a cauldron. It's old, it's medieval, there's so much action. And that will prepare him very, very well indeed for the pomp and circumstance that will prevail on Epsom Derby Day.
Yeah, he's a lovely, big, laid-back horse. I'm not worried about the preliminaries at Epsom with him. Chester, as you say, prepares them a bit for it. It's always been considered a track for the Derby trials, although there's nothing similar really between Chester and Epsom, other than, as you say, it's a bit of a cauldron and it's very tight. So they're on the bend all the time. Having said that, it's a galloping track in the sense that they're always turning, so they're always galloping. There's no sort of hold up and sprint.
Right, I'm going to leave you with one final question. I saw a very interesting piece between Aidan O'Brien and William Haggis with regard to their views on what it takes to prepare a Derby horse.
One that can run fast enough. It sounds basic, but they've got to have the ability in the first place, and then all the rest of it comes after that. But they have to have ability to be good enough to get an entry in the Derby in the first place.
Epsom tests every sinew of a horse's body, mentally and physically. They have to stay, they have to have tactical speed, they have to have balance. Like Epsom is the ultimate test. It's a very unique track that tests every part of the horse. The atmosphere, they going to the start, they have to go the full mile and a half, they have to walk down, then they have to turn in at the start and they have to go up against the hill for 4.5, 5 furlongs. Then they have to go flat, then down the hill, they have to go left and right in the straight, and they have to stay the last furlong. So it's the ultimate test of a racehorse, really.
When did Dee Ex Bee put his hand up and say to you, I'm a Derby horse?
Well, Aidan O'Brien in particular would have an awful lot more experience of that than I would, and William Haggis has also had a Derby winner. I'm still waiting for one. So, I can't really say that, but I think he was a little bit different in that he wasn't entered, which is the owner's policy not to make the early entries because he's got so many horses. It would be crazy to make dozens of entries, far simpler to supplement the one you want to put in. But in Dee Ex Bee's case, he won this wild card entry, and that sort of focused our mind on the Derby a little bit. Although we were already, if he wasn't in the Derby, we would already have been thinking, is it Derby or is it Royal Ascot, where he would be in the King Edward VII, the Queen's Vase, races like that with a perhaps long-term eye on the St Leger. So we were thinking middle distance plus and the highest level. But the Derby got thrown into the picture when he won that wild card entry.
I'm sure you've got many years of training yet to go, but it's obviously got to be a very, very important piece of memorabilia on your mantelpiece.
Yeah, the Derby is something special. You called it the greatest race in the world, and I think it is. And I think the Tessio said that the thoroughbred was built on the winning post of the Epsom Derby. Coolmore have continued that in recent years. We're still seeing the greatest stallion in the world as a Derby winner, and it's been the picture through history. So it's a most important race, not just for British racing, but for the whole thoroughbred breed. And there's no trainer wouldn't love to win it.
Thoroughbred. Bone density tuned to match the test of racing. One way these elite athletes, formed by nature, refined by breeding, and shaped by training, conquer the Derby. The supreme test.